and welcome to the first episode of Burn the Stockpiles, where me and Dominic, say hi, Dominic,
Hey, hey.
are going to come at you guys with some art and KeyForge lore and just talking about random KeyForge stuff that nobody else is talking about because we want to bring you something fun to listen to. And since we decided to name our segment Burn the Stockpiles, today for you we have Burn the Stockpiles. That's what we're going to break down. So, Dominic, why don't you go ahead and get us started?
All right, so we're trying to come up with a name for the channel. Me and Jupiter went back and forth for a little while. I came up with a slew of just ridiculous and silly names, and I said, you know what? Why don't we just name it after a card? That way it's catchy. And you know what I love? I love Brobnar. And you know what Jupiter's favorite card is?
Burn the Stockpiles!
Uh, hey, I'm just saying. So it was a match made in heaven. I said let's just keep it simple, and yeah, this. So here we are,
Disclaimer,
and
favorite card art. Favorite card is still Control of the Week, but this is my favorite card art.
that's a fair disclaimer, and we all know that lateral shift is by far the best card. I'm not to get into too many arguments about that, but hey.
That's its own show, buddy.
But no, in all seriousness, the reason why we came here is because I was just on the Facebook group, and I said, you know what? With everything going on right now, we need to put a smile on people's faces. And something that wasn't being covered was the beautiful art that you see in KeyForge. I love it. Jupiter, what do you think?
I'm a big fan of art. It was actually my first thing I ever went to college for was art. So I have a very soft spot for artists and art. I'm not a big graphic art guy, but I do think the art in KeyForge is fantastic.
And so, you know what? We were both huge fans, and that's what drew me into KeyForge, among many, many other things. I just love KeyForge in all aspects, to be honest. But I said I threw it up onto Facebook, and I said we should cover some art. And people were responding and saying, "Yeah, this sounds great." And who, of course, was the first person that was just like, jumps at me right away and be like, "Hey, let's get this going right away." A little known someone that has a few channels of his own there, so not to push your buttons too much, but hey.
Hey, I just like to make content, and I like people to be happy. So here we are again. And our podcast that we did the other day, was about a month back now, I guess, is was pretty well received. So I figure the entertainment value of me and Dominic is enough that we should give this a go, right? So to get things moving in the right direction, though, we are going to talk about Burn the Stockpiles. This is a piece of art that was created by an artist known as Balance Sheet, who did commissioned work for the Shadow World tournament and for the guys there. And he is basically, his name is Steve Hamilton, and he's based out of Baja, Mexico. So that's the little profile. And if he ever wanted to come on the show and do a full show about his work, we would love to have him. And that goes with any artist that we cover moving forward. So thank you to Archon Arcana. We are using your page as a reference to kind of get some information and stuff off of there as well. And if you haven't checked out that site, they have tons and tons of stuff that is just awesome to look at and lots of lines and correlations. So shout out to Blinking Line and all the people that are helping him with the Arcana Arcana spots. And thank you for being part of the KeyForge community in that aspect. But let's get to the art. So Dominic, you can go first because I'm going to be tearing this apart technically, and you're going to be the flavor and the lore guy, the fantasy art appreciate. So you go for it, and then I'll put in my 2 cents.
Okay, let's start off. First of all, best house in Coda, spiritually at least, is Brobner, and this piece of art is awesome. I love this art. Like, it looks like this person is burning. Okay, it doesn't look like this person is 100% burning, and they're not only destroying the stockpile, they're burning themselves, and everything around them is on fire. And I love the card art on this. Like, it's super awesome. It's a lot of fun. And what's interesting, and we're going to be talking about here in a little bit, is that when you look at it on the card itself, all you see is this giant, like, well, literally a giant on fire, has his weapons out, and everything's aflame. And you're just like, yeah, burn the stockpile, I get it right away. And then what's interesting is, as you can see in the full art picture here, is that there's a lot that didn't make the cut for the art. So I kind of like them both. I think, of course, as always, I like the full art fully here just a little bit more because it has a lot more detail and it has that darkness around them just to give you that somber moment that he's just like, hey, you thought you had all that amber? No, I came to burn it all. It's time to go down in the blaze of glory. Um, yeah, so that's the first thing that jumps out to me. I'll throw it over to Jupiter so I don't hammer on forever on this, but we'll go back and forth here.
Yeah, fair handoff. So like for me, it's like the things that make this card all Brobnar and all awesome is the color palette, right? The color palette here is amazing because we're using all the reds, oranges, and yellows that become associated with Brobnar, and those are what we call hot colors in the art world. And hot colors basically are basically ones that are meant to stir emotion and to kind of pull you in. So with the amount of chaos and stuff that's going on, and the amount of extra like emphasis to the push and pull of the dark and the light, like the dark and the bright colors. I think it's pretty awesome, and I like that he kept it to a simple three color hot like complementary palette. Like not a lot of analogous colors here. Like he could have been using purples and stuff like that to kind of set some more depth and stuff, but instead he just went with gray tones and blacks, which I am a very big fan of in this piece. And if you look at the full art, we see that he actually has this really awesome like what looks like it might have been like a barrel or maybe a wagon or something like that he's basically standing in the middle of. And in the full artwork, you see that he used the foreground like really well with the pieces of the wagon or canister, whatever this might have been, and because it's completely destroyed now and on fire. And you see him using like a circular motion to kind of wrap you back into that center figure. And the center figure is actually, if you look at the way that his body is positioned and stuff in this, it's very circular, right? The axes are pointing at the tops of the axes are tipped back towards each other to bring that circular focus to bring you back in, and then you have those two like red eyes just poking out at you, like pulling you right into that centerpiece, into that chest piece, which is the focus of the art. And then you have again like a reverse kind of logic, like because normally we use like dark things to push people back into a picture and like the bright things to push things forward, and in this case he kind of reversed that effect, and it makes it look even that much cooler because if you look at the full art here, like you really feel like that this warrior is standing in the middle of this fire, just like reveling in it. Like it looks like he's just like, yeah, I'm doing this, and I'm going nuts. So I'm a big fan of it, and even like the negative space that they used between what looks like a burning cloak coming off of the back there, like to me like it looks like burning clothing. Like they use that to again set the darkness to push the fire even that much more brighter and give you these really neat abstract shapes inside of the fire to make you to hold your attention on it, but yet you still get the full image of what this is and what this what it is meant to be with very minimum detail. So that's my artistic pull on it. So what do you got, Dominic?
Hey, just a few things that he has for artistic view. You can tell that Jupiter loves the card, eh? And no, there's a few other hidden gems, and like I'm just staring at the art right now. That things that I never noticed because again, we're used to playing the actual game and seeing the art on the card, and as you can see in the full art here, there's things that I'm noticing right now that I didn't see. So if you look over to the right hand side, there's so well, let's start at the top actually. So you have the flames at the very top, but then you see the clouds and like the sky is trying to shine through. It might actually be like a clear sky above, but it's dark and gloomy from what you can see here. So that makes it to the card. But what doesn't make it to the card is if you just go a little bit further down to the right hand in the middle portion here, uh, you have the mountain in the background to give you a little bit more of where this might be taking place in the crucible. And don't worry, if you don't know where it's taking place in the crucible, it could be really anywhere on the crucible at the same time. It's interesting that that portion was cut out and thought wasn't needed. And I'm actually fine with that in the card because the card, when you look at the full card, focuses really on burning the stockpile and it has that flame and it's fully engulfed. But it's nice to see in the full art just these little details that didn't make it. Because now I'm pondering, what did he crash into, because it, like, to me it almost looks like he got launched out of a catapult or something, or it just came slamming down on this thing and everything's on fire. And like, I'm just imagining he's just doing like this big belly burst of a laugh, just being like, yeah, you thought your Archon was going to make it, but now I made sure that you were able to forge another key, and that our Archon is the one that's going to get to the vault first. Getting a little bit deeper into things, as you can see, but no, it's really interesting. And the other aspects to cover here that I really like is that when you're looking at the character itself, lots of details. Jupiter covered quite a bit already, but one of the, if I was to pick up points that I love that if you look at his clothing, it looks like it's burning a little bit. So like his what side would that be? That would probably be his right chest pec there. It looks like the armor just like melted away, and you can see the skin. And Jupiter mentioned that like in the middle there, it looks like there's stuff that clothing is just burning away. Like, it's like, how's this person reveling? Like, how's he still standing? Well, it's because he's a Brobnar giant. Like, this is obviously the case, but don't worry, his beard is still fabulous.
Yeah, or hair. It might be hair just flowing behind him as well. But like the interesting thing here for me is like it looks like to me like he just walked through this thing and destroyed it, like like breaking amber. And if you think about it, like the card itself, right? When you play the card, you basically, if your opponent has 7 or more amber, they lose 4 amber. And what this is like this was a lot more than 7 amber in my opinion. I think this was like a lot of amber being stored in some kind of barrel or some kind of like little like like hut or something, and he came and he destroyed it. And when he destroyed it, it blew up, and he doesn't give a crap. And the fire that's behind him, like the gray clouds with the light poking through, that's a good catch. But to me, I think this is smog. I think this is fire burning and putting black smog into the air. That's how much destruction is behind this, right? This is like a small piece of the big
Mm.
the big picture to me. Like, I think there's just fire and chaos going on all around this Brobnar raid, and like these guys, and this guy is just like the centerpiece of this moment, right? So that's kind of where I'm at with that. And I feel like another piece in here that is really neat to me is if you look at the axe in his what would be his right hand, he has like a big old piece of amber in that axe too. So this is like, yeah, like if you're naming an axe, like maybe this is like the amber destroyer, right? Like this axe is basically, he's using it to basically destroy other pieces of amber and stuff. So there's just so much cool things going on in this piece for me. So I'll hand it
So,
back.
oh, no worries. It 100%. Like, yeah, actually, what's kind of funny too is I just love all the little details in this. So, so you got the one axe that you mentioned. So it's interesting, and it's a nice little contrast that you get to see here. Is that so in that axe it's amber filled, like you mentioned, and but in the other axe it's like, oh, it's a little tiny axe. Like, it's like, it looks like a normal size axe, which might go hand to hand with literally might go hand to hand with like the size of his arm. So clearly his like to me clearly he has like a robotic left arm, because like if you're looking at it,
Mhm.
it's much skinnier and it doesn't look proportional to his body, which correlates to Brobnar in general. They like to use cybernetic enhancements to show more power. They like to upgrade their weapons by putting amber infused weapons, so it's just a show of power. It's interesting if you go to the Genesis RPG books. They actually talk about like you can tell like a Brobnar is more badass with like the bigger, crazier weapons that he might have, or like just the things, because uh, if he wasn't a badass, or if she wasn't a badass, or that person wasn't, then they wouldn't be able to keep it, because someone else would take it from him. So not only was he able to have these two crazy weapons, but now he just adds another victory to his torch here, if you per se, and say, "Hey, I just destroyed their stockpile of amber." And I won't give my opinion yet of who I think he's destroyed, but like, if you were to name a house, Jupiter, who did he just come raining down and crushing their hopes and dreams?
Before we get too sidetracked on this, and this give me time to think about who this might be, but um, the the axe that you mentioned, the small axe, right? If you notice the way that it's built too, it has like these really deep slits in it, and it kind of reminds me of like the way you would use a sai. So this axe is almost like it's made to break swords, like right, like that's an interesting like little like tidbit, maybe martial arts style thing in my head. But like when I look at this axe, I'm like I could see him catching like big claymores and stuff from other Brobnars and breaking the blade with this axe, or using it to catch it and using the other axe to break the sword in half. So that was about as much time as I could buy with that bit, but I think that's a pretty neat dynamic. Like, how do you think of that? Well, I try to think about this and look for clues.
Look for clues. Hey, no worries. No, I think it's interesting too. Like clearly, he has two different weapons to do just that for different destructions. I would say that the amber infused weapon was probably the one that was like the constructive blow. So like the smaller axe just probably broke into wherever he was hitting down on, and then that giant amber infused weapon probably came just smoking down. Probably hit. Probably some sort of explosive, and that's what's caused this like chaotic fire. But you know what? I can't give you too much time, so you gotta call out the house now.
All right, my final answer is this is Brobner on Brobner hate, and my supporting
Oh,
evidence.
ouch.
My supporting evidence for this is it's not Martian because it's made of wood. Like whatever this structure is made definitely made of some kind of wood, or like like it looks like it's been planked together with iron and stuff like that. It's not Sanctum, I don't think, because Sanctum I think would have more metal to it as well. Like it would be more armor clad. It's not Logos because it's not technical enough, obviously. I guess you could say that it might be Untamed, but it is in the mountains, and the Untames tend to stick to forest areas. And Saurians, I just don't like. I don't see this being big enough to be Saurian. What else could it be? Star Alliance. I don't think Star Alliance would care to make have a box like this either. I think they would be more technically advanced. So, I think I'm pretty confident in my idea that this is Brobner on Brobner hate, and that they are he's basically just destroying this out of just basically dominance over another Brobner house.
I would normally agree with you, but I hated Shadow so much in Coda because of all the stealing, so I have to go with Shadow. So no reasoning other than the dislike of how great Shadows was from the Coda set.
That's fair. I didn't even think into shadows, but like how might this play out to be shadows? Though I think for me like it's the thing that kind of tipped me back towards Brobnar on Brobnar is if you look in the lower facing the painting, the lower right corner, there's like markings, almost like runes, right? And like that's a big Brobnar thing, not so much a shadow thing, but they look kind of like runes that were on the pieces of wood there that they got smashed. Say hi, Harlan. But so that's kind of what tipped me back towards Brobnar because I was like, I think this is wood. So if it's wood, I'm taking away the more advanced houses, and then like shadows isn't a bad choice. But I think the thing that tipped me back towards Brobnar was I'm assuming that what we see there isn't just like reflections and fire reflections, but those are actually used to be runes before they got pummeled. So I don't know like how would you take away from that, but I could see shadows too though.
Yeah, 100%. So that's what I see. Um, so is there anything? What else do we want to cover for the main art here? Because I know that this is your favorite piece.
Says on the flavor text it says if you can't protect it, you don't deserve it. Quote. Bilgum Avalanche. So let's start a fun theory crafting, right? Like and by no means am I fully on board with this, but this is a cool concept to think about. But when you go and you look at the artwork for Bilgum Avalanche, she is a double axe wielding monster as well, and she's wearing a tiara, a pointed tiara, and she has a lot of clothes on that could easily have been getting burned off. The like I said, I told Dominic, I said the only saving feature on this is like with the lean back and stuff is that maybe the breastplate isn't quite correct, so therefore this obviously looks like a dude. But you could also say that that's her hair that's in the background there with the pointed parts being part of the tiara. So this is like my far stretch for the day, like where I'm like thinking if you want to really relate the two cards together because there's a quote from her on it, like that there's a chance that this could just be like a armored out, decked out Bilgum Avalanche in the picture.
And for those of you that don't have a Mars brain antenna attached to you that is agreeing with Jupiter, uh, No, I just had to throw that out there. It's an interesting idea. Let us know what you think. Like, so if you look at the two pictures, can you see Pilgrim Avalanche in this? I won't lie, I don't see it myself. But we were talking about this before we went live, and I was like, okay, yeah, sure, it's a possibility of an option. But let us know what details that you can see, commenting below and whatnot, saying, hey, these are the reasons why I think it is, and these are the reasons why I think that there's no possible way. So Jupiter brought up quite a few good points with the weapons. There's the quote, and you'll notice a lot within Coda that a lot of the cards quote each other, and it builds up on that story that everyone loves within KeyForge.
Here's a surprise layer I'm going to add to you real quick, because you mentioned that. What if this person is raiding shadows, right? Some call her war leader, some call her demon. I call her avalanche, dodger. That is
All
the
right,
flavor.
so he
That is
just
the
gained.
flavor text.
So
That's a,
Jupiter just gained 3 points towards his theory. Okay, okay. Yeah, no.
but that means I had to concede that it's a shadows a shadow stockpile. So.
Dang. Yeah. Hey. Yeah. No, that's a that's 100%. And no, I love that. So relating it back to the art and in both of these cases, I like. I think in this case, I say that, and you probably already realized. So burn the stockpile. When you're looking at the card, it says play. If your opponent has 7 or more amber, they lose 4. And we already talked about uh, the flavor text here, and the big thing is does the ability of the card correlate with the art? And I think this is like a resounding yes, like 10 out of 10, yes in this case. Jupiter, any disagreement with that?
No, I think that this the spirit of this card is captured 100% in this artwork, and that's why I love it so much. And I think that there's not even a question about like whether this fits the card. I think this is a great job, and I think I don't know if Balance Sheet made the art first or if the card was made around it, but either way, the connection I think was is pure, and I think it's really great.
And yeah, and if Balance Sheet is listening in, by all means, or if FFG wants to give us some hint nuggets or bring it up maybe in a future Crucible cast, by all means, we would love to hear a little bit more of the truth behind this. Which one came first? Was it the chicken or the egg? In this case, was it the art or the card, right? So that's actually an interesting concept, because they've talked about that. I don't know if you've seen it in the Crucible cast, but they've talked about how sometimes art has made the card or vice versa, right?
Yeah. Like we're just here to unlock another level of KeyForge and put out more content. So I think we've accomplished that, and we've actually got to a pretty good amount of length on this one. So um, unless you have something like absolutely out of the blue to pull into this one, I think we should probably start to wrap it up.
No, I think we can wrap it up. Like I said, let us know what you thought about Jupiter's crazy idea. I would say it's almost like a Martian theory, to be honest. But is this card Avalanche herself? Is she really upset with shadows? Because Jupiter has to admit it's shadows. Or is there something else? Like, what else could it be, Jupiter?
I don't have to admit it's shadows. I'm just saying that if you're gonna say that it's shadows, then Bilgum makes sense because even Dodger is like, man, she's a demon, or she's like, she's a badass. And adding a little bit of extra armor to go in to pillage a place, man, the weapons they don't line up exactly, but it's her style, right? It's double axe, so maybe this is a upgraded Bilgum, like that was just like I'm gonna go wreck on everything. So I don't know. It's just it's a fetch. Like I think it's a fetch. I really do think that this is probably a male Brobnar, but the thought of a female Brobnar doing this, it makes me happier. So.
Uh, you know what? I will add one more little dit to finish wrapping this up. Is that so? We're here covering different pieces of art. Tell us what you think about all of this. But to help Jupiter out here a little bit, is that because these are two different artists that have done this. So Balance Sheet did this one, and Bilgrim Avalanche was done by another artist here,
Yeah,
which
Konstantin
was
Turovic.
very, yeah, you said it better than I could. And
From
he's an artist
Kaliningrad,
based in
Russia.
Russia.
Kaliningrad.
Yeah.
So
Um,
sorry.
it's a possibility that is their artistic take on what Avalanche would look like. So that is actually something I didn't even think about, because if they did it before the cards were in play, maybe Jupiter was right and he said, "Hey, this is what I think of Avalanche," or maybe this was just a, a random cool Brobnar guy that's to come in the future, or is it something else that we didn't see? Who do you think this is? Is it Avalanche? Is it a random Brobnar? Or is it another Brobnar that's already released that we haven't thought of? Let us know in the comments.
Yep, and so that's all we got here for burning the stockpiles. Stay tuned for future episodes and VODs. We do this on YouTube because we want you to see the art, but it probably listens well as a podcast if you actually know it, but it's just better to be able to look at what we're talking about and reference it. So that's why we're leaving it on YouTube as a VOD. So appreciate you guys listening, and if you haven't liked or subscribed or followed, all of those things are good for us. So please hook us up, let us know, and we will see you soon. Keep forging.
Later.